Hi, Brent Bode here again from the Marquette PT Clinic. So we're continuing our talking about runners and things that we can do to help prevent injury with running. So this is the third area that we're talking about. What do we do before we go for the run? So this is going to talk about what is a dynamic warm-up. What kind of things can we do to get those muscles ready to go for a run? I find pretty much across the board as far as runners go, they don't like to warm up. They want to just start running. And so oftentimes, almost the great majority of runners that I talk to, I ask them if this is part of their routine, and most of the time it's not. But it's very important. So before running or before any athletic activity, oftentimes people stretch, and they tend to do stretches where they're just here and they just hold a stretch for like a minute or something like that. We've known for a few decades with really good research that doing just static, prolonged hold stretching like that before an activity can actually decrease performance. So I try to gear people away from those types of warm-up stretches. As opposed to, we know that warm muscles tend to work better. So we want to do something to warm those muscles up so they're ready for the athletic activity of running. So I try to emphasize that people warm up their bodies in all three planes of motion that you can move. So those three planes are we can move forward and back, which running is predominantly a forward and back motion. The other direction of that is side to side, which running does have a little bit of side to side motion. And the last is more of rotation. So our body is comprised of joints and muscles and connective tissue that move in all those three planes. So we want to make sure that our warm-up and our exercises help pattern after that three-dimensional movement. So what I like to do with that in mind, and I tend to emphasize just 5 minutes. Set your timer for 5 minutes and keep moving for that 5 minutes. And I'll show you a couple different variations. And during that time, if you finish through the 3 exercises and you cycle through, just go back to the first one again and just keep moving for that 5 minutes so your muscles are nice and warm and ready to go. So the first one, against the wall, is I like doing leg swings. So you can start going side to side here. And like I said, it's an active movement that gets the muscles warmed up in all these different planes of motion. So side to side, you do that on both legs. I'm going to do a forward and back as well. I like to give myself, I like to run outside, so I use a tree for these types of exercises. If you have good stability, you can do it without and just kind of balance that way. You can get your arms swinging. You get your trunk warmed up like that as well. Another exercise that I use a tree for as well, my neighbors probably think I'm a little goofy, is what I call more of a wall climber exercise. This one gets a little tricky, but what I'm doing is one hand on the tree, the other hand's going to be reaching up like this. The opposite knee is driving up into the air. So it kind of is an exaggerated version of running. So it looks like this. It's an active movement, just like we were talking about, warming up your body in all those planes of motion. And you do that on either side. So maybe 20 repetitions of the leg swings, 20 repetitions of that on each side. And then I like to do some three-dimensional lunges as well. And what those look like is, a traditional forward lunge. I can also do a side lunge. And I can also do kind of like a rotational drop step, where I'm drop stepping like this, and I'm rotating and lunging back that way. A lot of different variations of what you can do with your arms to warm up your arms and your trunk in that three-dimensional motion as well. I'll show you a couple variations. So if I step forward, I can rotate my arms over towards that same side, and I can come back. Same thing if I step to the side, I can rotate my trunk that way. I can also lunge forward and reach my hands forward, and I can do my arms up over my head, go to the side, up over my head. I could lunge forward and I could take this arm and rotate back that way to get a nice broad stretch through my hip flexors that way as well. So just some different variations. Like I said, set a timer for 5 minutes, just keep moving, and here's a couple ideas of how to do that dynamic three-dimensional warm-up before your runs. Thanks a lot for watching this video. And if you do end up getting hurt and you're trying to implement all these things, obviously we're here for you to help. Please contact us, give us a call, email. and we'll try to figure out the best solution together. It might include an in-clinic visit or a telehealth visit.